morning, folks. We're going to get started. Welcome to the 2015 federal election forum for the Whitby riding. This forum is jointly sponsored by the Durham Region Home Builders Association, the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, and the Durham Region Association of Realtors. My name is Roger Baum. I'm a proud member of the Durham Region Association of Realtors and your moderator this morning. Let me start with introducing the candidates. First candidate here on my left is Craig Cameron, representing the Green Party, Celina Caesar-Chavannes, representing the Liberal Party, and Ryan Kelly, representing the New Democratic Party. Our panel this morning that will be asking the questions includes Victor Fume, President of the Durham Region Home Builders Association, Andrea Kennedy in the middle, President of the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, and Sandra O'Donoghue, President of the Durham Region Association of Realtors. We also have Matthew McKenzie here. He is Vice Chair Advocacy Committee for the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, and he is holding two cards. One is red and one is yellow, and for the candidates, yellow means you have 10 seconds left. Yellow means you have 10 seconds left, and red is time is up, and we will immediately move on to the next candidate and ask for your help with that. Moving along, we hope to have you out of here by 9 o'clock. So we are going to start with opening opening comments from each of the candidates, and that is predetermined order by draw. The first candidate with opening comments is Celina.
Good morning, everyone, and I want to thank the Durham Home Builders Association, the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, and the Realtors Association for having me here today, and for all of you for being here so early in the morning to listen to us in this debate. When I looked at the three organizations that were sponsoring this event, I wanted to make sure that we were speaking effectively to sort of their missions and their values. And I think from the Liberal Party's perspective, we've taken a multi-pronged approach to home ownership, to ensuring that we're promoting the trades, and ensuring that we're talking about housing affordability as well as affordable housing. So we have strategies to help people who are transitioning from low income to rentals, to ownerships. We have an infrastructure investment that's focused on affordable housing and seniors facilities to kickstart the economy and create new jobs. We have student promotions of the skilled trade, funding for co-op and apprenticeships, investments in student jobs to make it easier for them to pay down debt, start a family, and own a home. As someone who was a forklift operator about 15 years ago in a warehouse, I understand the importance of a multi-pronged approach to home ownership. It seemed like every time we got a little bit of money together, something happened and our home ownership dream disappeared. I'm happy to be part of a Liberal team which has thought thoroughly about affordable housing and housing affordability to make ownership easier for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan.
Morning, everyone. I'm Ryan Kelly. I'm the NDP candidate in Whitby. It's nice to meet you all. My goal this morning is quite simple. If you are a decided voter, I hope to give you the opportunity to pause and see that there is a legitimate alternative to the party that you have been supporting. If you are an undecided voter, I hope to read what I have here. I hope to demonstrate that there's going to be a clear choice in this election, a choice that will provide you with leadership that pursues peace, that pursue stewardship of our environment that has personal integrity and that cares for the disenfranchised. Ladies and gentlemen, we're one election away from a government under Tom Mulcair that will create a Canada that provides us with our Canadian identity that we have been losing abroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For this next part, we will move to the panel to ask.
Whoa, whoa.
I am so sorry.
Give him a red card.
Do you know, my wife said, do they know you're usually not allowed to speak before 9 a.m.? Mr. Cameron.
Thank you. And I even got his name right. I said Mr. Bauma.
He did, and that's very unusual.
He was duly impressed that I said his name correctly. Anyway, thank you for the invitation. The Greens are always welcome to be part of a conversation and be at the table, so even if they're temporarily forgotten. And I was wondering about the red and the yellow cards there. Where's the green for go, right? I just happened to notice that. I was speaking with my campaign manager this morning, who is 9, and it's my son, and he said, "Who has a debate at 8 o'clock in the morning, Dad?" And I said, "Good question." The other thing he noticed is that I came out of my room this morning with a blue shirt on, and he said, "Why are you wearing a blue shirt?" And I said, "That's a good question. I better change it to white." I wore my green one for yesterday's debate, so I've changed that up. So I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the reason I'm in this is for my son. I do believe that we have a responsibility to include the talk about climate change in all of our discussions. We're hearing much talk about the economy during this election campaign, and there are many facets to the economy. And we just want to ask questions: why are we not considering diversifying the economy and investing in green technology? We'd like to keep that conversation on the table so that it manifests itself in all of our business decisions. The Green Party would like to see further investment in small businesses because we believe that that's where some change can take effect. We are interested, of course, in helping our young people. I work in education, and we need to create opportunities. You may have had an opportunity. If you haven't, I encourage you to have a look at the Green Party fully costed program online, where you will find explicitly that although I've been talking about climate change, we are not a one-issue party, and we would like to carry that message out and have a conversation with people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Not, among other things, not too many people say Bauma right. The mayor of Oshawa, after 4 years, couldn't say it right. We will move on to the panel. The panel members are each going to ask a question, then we are going to go to a question from the audience that hopefully you've written down and handed into this table at the front. If you've not done so, please feel free to do so. For the questions, each of the candidates will be given 1 minute. They'll receive the same 10-second warning, yellow card, and red card when it's time to move on to the next candidate's answer. Victor, on behalf of the panel, will ask the first question, and we will start with Ryan and then go to Craig and then Celina, and we'll rotate that through the process.
Thanks, Roger. Craig, you can tell your son that we as builders have already put in half a day by now. So for us, it's almost lunch. My question is, housing is quickly eluding the reach of hardworking young Canadians. This is largely due to skyrocketing government fees and taxes, coupled with restrictive planning policies that increase land prices. What will your government do to protect affordability in housing?
Ryan.
Thank you, Victor. You're absolutely right. The cost of housing is skyrocketing, and that is driven particularly by both Vancouver and Toronto. Some people speculate that it might be as a result of foreign investment, yet foreign investment in real estate is a tremendous part of many local economies if you look at U.S. investment along our Maritimes. I think what's important is, as a government, that we invest in affordable housing. In Durham Region alone, we have 4,500 people on wait lists for affordable housing, and that's a 5-year wait list at that. We need to provide incentives to builders to invest in affordable housing, and as a government, we need to be a partner in that. So it's the NDP plan to invest in providing incentives to build 10,000 affordable housing and rental units by the end of our first mandate.
Thank you. Craig.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Victor. I will remind my son of that early start should he decide a career in construction. As I was talking about education earlier, it is a pipe dream for many of the students that I speak with about home ownership. So one of the initiatives I find is that even for folks like myself and who is working with his family, two people employed, it's still difficult to make ends meet. So one of the things that we would like to do is, by 2020, help students with skills training and provide actually free tuition for post-secondary education. What that does is also helps free up money for people who are like myself, who are still trying to own their own homes. So it's a challenge. What I think that the Green Party is calling for, though, essentially, is a national housing strategy that's based on housing first principles, and we need to have a national discussion about how we can coordinate efforts to get appropriate housing.
Thank you. Celina.
Thank you, Victor. I think that, so the Liberal Party believes that housing strategy begins with collaboration with municipalities to ensure that any infrastructure investment will offset development charges and make home ownership a reality by easing that taxation burden. The Liberal Party has also made a huge infrastructure investment, especially in social infrastructure, and will provide renewed federal leadership in affordable housing. And we're talking about helping to build more housing units, refurbish existing ones, renew existing co-op agreements, and providing operational funding support for municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we move on to the next question, staff at the Durham Region Association of Realtors gave me great notes, which would be very helpful if I actually read them. And what I missed was Pat Perkins, the Conservative candidate's regrets this morning. She is not able to be with us. She is attending to a family matter. That was not intentional, but we thought you should know that. Next question is going to come from Andrea, President of the Whitby Chamber of Commerce. And that'll be directed first to Craig.
Good morning and thank you. At the Whitby Chamber, our members are particularly concerned about reducing the regulatory burden on their businesses, ensuring competitive tax rates, and addressing the important issues of transit and gridlock. What will you do to create a more favorable climate for businesses in Canada? Please addressing the issues as noted.
Okay, thank you. One of the mechanisms that the Green Party proposes putting in place is the Council of Canadian Governments, which I think we need to, the reason for that would be to initiate and continue an effective dialogue between the municipalities, the provincial governments, and the federal government. I think the federal government needs to take leadership on that in terms of coordinating regulations and ensuring that all levels of government are on the same page so that there is not red tape getting in the way. As far as making sure that the tax system is in favor, I mean, part of what of our initiative is that when we're building houses, we need to make sure that as we're building houses, we have affordable housing for everybody. So for every unit that we're building, a certain percentage of them are in place for people who are not going to be in the housing market and need homes. Thank you.
Celina.
So the Liberal Party has made it very clear that we want to support, for you to have the federal government support to ensure that small to medium-sized enterprises are not overwhelmed by unnecessary red tape and taxes. When I speak to business owners here in Whitby, I could go on for days about how the Liberal Party is going to lower employment insurance premiums, but they're not interested in that. They really want to be able to get over the hurdles of starting a business and expanding their business, and I think that's where federal leadership is required. When you talk about transit and gridlock, I know that it takes me as long to get from downtown to Salem as it takes from Salem to my driveway. And we're also making a very strong investment in public transit to ensure that our families are able to get home and have real time with their children and their family members.
And Ryan.
Thank you. Taxation in Canada right now has a tremendous amount of the burden on personal incomes as well as small businesses. We've given large corporations an obscene tax break, which hasn't been spent in Canada, and it hasn't been used to create jobs. So we're going to shift that burden back and make them pay their fair share. We're going to lower the small business tax from 11% to 9%. We recognize that small business is the backbone of our economy, being responsible for 80% of all new hires. So far as transit goes, you're absolutely right. We lose billions of dollars every year because of our poor transit system, our lack of infrastructure. We are going to simplify the application process and transfer funds directly to municipalities and over double the funding for public transit each year. Thank you.
Thank you. And the third question this morning comes from Sandra O'Donoghue, President of the Durham Region Association of Realtors.
Good morning. The affordability of home ownership is a growing concern for first-time buyers. Meanwhile, the Home Buyers Plan, which allows first-time buyers to borrow up to $25,000 from their registered retirement savings plan to use as a down payment towards their home purchase, is losing its purchasing power due to inflation. Realtors are urging the government to index the Home Buyers Plan so it keeps pace with inflation. As indexation is an established practice, if you're elected, will you lend your support?
And we'll start with Celina on this one.
Yes. So we agree 100%. Modernizing the existing Home Buyers Plan so that it helps Canadians realize the dream of affording a home is important. As we know, when our prices for goods increase, we should be able to have some flexibility when it comes to taking out money from our RRSPs to be able to offset that cost, and we will support that reinvigoration of the Home Buyers Plan.
Thank you. Ryan.
Thank you. It's no surprise to anyone that housing is becoming less and less affordable. Less people can buy houses. We need to ensure that we have strategies in place that are going to ensure that more people that want to be homeowners can be homeowners. We've seen a trend in Canada over the past 10 years where we've seen a shrinking middle class. We've seen whatever few jobs are being created are precarious, part-time, and low wage. We need to transform that system, provide good paying, stable jobs to people so that they can afford houses. And as part of our national housing strategy, we are going to ensure that housing is recognized as a right. We're going to be a partner with municipalities and industry to ensure that funding is in place to ensure that co-op housing is available to people and that home builders are given incentives to build low income.
And that'll be your time. Thank you. Next question comes from the audience.
Craig didn't get a chance to answer.
Craig? I've
Mr.
done that
Bauma.
twice now.
I'm going to have to start calling him Booma.
I'm sorry.
I have to do it. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Okay, so
Craig.
I'll concur with my colleagues that the Green Party supports the indexing of the Home Buyers Plan to the Consumer Price Index for sure. We support home ownership. We also support indexing the GST to the new home rebate to inflation. As far as other incentives, we are in favor of reintroducing and expanding the home renovation tax credit as well. We need to invest in the infrastructure so when we're building these communities, people can have access to them. We have just recently built, or in the process of building a 407, and we should be thinking forward and where is the light rail corridor that could be easily have accommodated through that thoroughfare that would help transit within the communities that we're building in the Durham region. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question comes from the audience, and it's in regards to income splitting. What is your party going to do about income splitting for seniors? And we'll start with Ryan on that question.
Thank you. Let me start by saying that we are going to maintain income splitting for seniors. Seniors are facing a very poor situation right now. It's a big part of our fully funded plan to help seniors prosper, to be able to enter retirement with enough funds to live in comfort and dignity. First, we're going to start by ensuring that the funding is there for healthcare. We're going to ensure that everyone has access to a pension, that if you have a workplace pension, that it is guaranteed and secure. And if you're one of the 7 out of 10 people that don't have a workplace pension, we're going to ensure that you have a pension when you retire by enhancing CPP and restoring the eligibility age for OAS to 65. Further to that, we're going to enhance the GIS. Thank you.
Craig.
So definitely the Green Party supports, first of all, an enhancement and a conversation with the provinces around CPP. There is one program that covers 100% of the population, and that would be the CPP. We have other mechanisms for saving, the TFSA, but it's selective in who can afford to actually contribute to that. We also, want to see a national pharmacare program as well to help reduce costs on seniors. We're also interested in a guaranteed livable income. There are many seniors who are falling between the cracks. 1 in 7 people live in poverty in Canada, and we would like to see guaranteed livable income provided so these people don't fall between the cracks. Thank you.
Celina.
So one of the issues that I have going door to door with seniors is that I think the commercials by some of the competitors have really played on people's minds, and the Liberal Party is not cutting income splitting for seniors. That is not going to happen. In fact, we recognize that seniors at present are not able to retire comfortably. So we've made some of the changes that my colleagues have mentioned. We've prioritized investment in affordable housing for seniors. We are going to restore the eligibility for old age security and GIS to 65. We're also going to increase the GIS for single lower income seniors by 10%. And we hope with this multi-pronged strategy that our current seniors, as well as people entering into their twilight years, will be able to afford.
Thank you. For the next question from the panel, we're going to start with Andrea, and we're going to direct that question first to Craig.
On the subject of increasing employment and economic development opportunities, an affirmative decision regarding the Pickering Airport project will fill an immediate need in Durham Region with the creation of 10,000 jobs. What is your position on the airport project and the future development of the Pickering lands as they affect Whitby and the Durham Region?
Well, as you know, the Green Party supports a sustainable future. I believe myself, and speaking with some of the constituents in Whitby in particular, and the party as a whole, believes that, the Pickering Airport is going to take over some of the best farmland that we have in the Durham region. And we are in favor of a sustainable food program to help maintain local food growth. And we believe that food and water safety are paramount. It doesn't make sense for us, or for me personally, to turn prime farmland into tarmac. The airport has been under contemplation for 30 years. We see no hurry in having it come into being. Some of the jobs that would manifest from that endeavor, are they sustainable jobs? Are they long-term jobs? Are they short-term service industry jobs like some of the jobs we've been seeing created under the current government?
Celina.
So I understand that the Pickering Airport has many potential economic benefits, including jobs, as you mentioned, and developed infrastructure. However, residents should be concerned about the impact of the airport on their quality of life, the noise, the traffic, and the payment for the infrastructure that feeds into the airport. When I talk to some residents in Brooklyn, they are looking at the overpass of the 407, and it's seeing those large infrastructure builds in their own backyard. We're also concerned, like Craig said, about the loss of prime land in our green belt. So there is a need for consultation, further consultation, especially since I know the current flight path goes over Mayor Mitchell's house. So we should be concerned about what our residents are thinking.
Thank you. Ryan.
Thank you. The NDP is not in favor of developing the land for an airport in Pickering. Right now, Pearson Airport is still not at capacity. The Island Airport provides a wonderful opportunity for people traveling on weekends and otherwise with the GO train going directly there. Like my colleagues suggested, we have tremendous concerns about using prime agricultural land for an airport. Also, the Oshawa Airport is a legitimate alternative as well that may have the opportunity to be expanded. I don't think we can afford anymore to look at developing farmland in that way. In Whitby alone, we have 10 farms left. If you want to eat local, as everyone should have that opportunity, we need to have a strong look at a sustainable future for our land.
Thank you. The next question comes from Sandra, and it'll be first directed to Celina.
If elected, how would your government support small business people to ensure their businesses thrive? How do you feel about lowering the tax rate for small businesses?
So again, I think that I'm going to bring this really local. So we are going to be lowering the tax rate for small businesses from the current 11 to 9%. However, I think that we have a real opportunity in Whitby to look at what is happening to our downtown, especially some of the small businesses there. As a business owner, I want to make sure that our businesses are able to thrive. And by providing individuals with income or extra income that we've done through our reduced tax plan for our residents, that could help stimulate the economy. But I think there's a real opportunity here for Whitby to partner with existing infrastructure to make Whitby a real center of excellence and an anchor for some industry, either clean or green technology, information technology, or healthcare. And that could allow people to live, work, and play here and also grow the economy because people are spending money right here because they work here.
Thank you. Ryan.
Yes, the NDP does plan to lower the small business tax rate from 11% to 9%. We recognize that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, being responsible for 80% of all new hires. Here in Whitby, we have a thriving small business. We have a great chamber and a great business improvement association. This will only go to help better our lovely culture. People move to Whitby because it is a legitimate town. If you look at our downtown core, I had several people talking to me during Heritage Day about how wonderful a community we have. This will only go to support that, and the NDP wants to ensure that small businesses can compete in a climate where we've had so many big businesses get breaks for so long. Thank you.
And Craig.
So the Green Party definitely believes in reducing the taxes on small business as well. We would like to see the creation of a Canadian Sustainable Generations Fund. From that, we could provide green technology commercialization grants to start up businesses locally. We believe in sort of a think first legislation, which will help us take small business considerations into the discussion. How do we spread around some of this funding? Again, I think it's been mentioned at the table today that we reduce some of the perverse subsidies that some sectors receive that skew the market and redirect those to small businesses for local investment. We would like to see also a reduction in the endless paperwork and duplicative reporting for small business, which takes up time and bogs down business. And we'd like to see these small, medium-sized businesses take advantage of the rapidly expanding green technology market, whether that be wind or solar here in Durham or other initiatives.
Thank you. Next question comes from Victor.
The Canadian Home Builders Association and BuildForce predict a shortage of 129,000 skilled tradespeople. What is your government planning to do to support skilled tradespeople and their employers?
Sorry, and that is directed next to Ryan. Thank you.
Well, we need to ensure that we can grow all parts of our economy. So, and part of that is creating the opportunity to develop business. And so by having our accelerated capital investment fund, by maintaining that, as well as introducing an innovation tax credit, we're going to provide opportunities for businesses to come in and locally, in particular, to develop industry that is going to support a greater need for these jobs. And what we're going to do is provide, we're going to create that vacuum which will enable us to develop programs to support the stronger training. Thank you.
Craig.
Okay, so one of the, sorry. Is it okay? I'm being heard when it's starting to give me some feedback there. I apologize. So a couple of the initiatives, one I already mentioned was reintroducing the renovation tax credit to increase business for small businesses. I've already mentioned that we would eventually by 2020 get to free tuition for the skills for post-secondary, to get more carpenters, get more construction workers out there. And what we would like to see is initiatives on retrofitting many of our older buildings, our hospitals, our schools, and getting them up to eco standards. And some of those initiatives would cut back about 30% of our carbon production. So we see lots of opportunity to invest and support businesses, get new trained employees out there, and as we've said, release an army of folks to get us up to speed with our carbon initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Celina.
So in addition to supporting co-op and apprenticeships, the Liberal Party will increase investment in skills training by $750 million annually through funding to training programs. This will include $500 million increased funding to labor market development agreements with the provinces, $200 million annual increases delivered to the provinces and territories and focused on training workers who are not currently eligible for federal training investment. We will also renew and expand by $50 million the Aboriginal skills and employment training strategy. And we'll invest $25 million per year in training facilities, partnering with labor unions so that more facilities have the equipment to train workers across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question comes to us from the audience. It is a provincial question, but we are going to ask the candidates, where do you stand on the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan? And we will start with Craig.
The Green Party, as mentioned before, fully supports a reinvigoration of the CPP, as I say, because it covers 100% of the population. It is unfortunate that provincial governments have had to turn to doing this type of action in response to a federal government is taking no leadership in terms of providing a national program. And again, it's just one of those other examples of the federal government absolving itself and simply, whether it be healthcare, whether it be pensions, not taking any ownership and sort of leaving it on the backs of people to find their own way to save for retirement. And it's not accessible to all Canadians, which is unfair. And so, you know, we can understand why the initiatives, and we would cooperate with them to work and see if we could work something from the federal level as well as with what they're doing at the provincial level.
Thank you. Celina.
So I have to agree with Craig on this one. We have not had federal leadership communicating with the provinces for quite some time. So when it comes to healthcare and when it comes to our pensions, rightfully so, the Ontario government and other governments are going to have to start to figure out how to get people to be able to retire with dignity. One of the things that we can say is that we're going to continue to work with the provinces and territories to ensure that we are able to enhance the current CPP program. I think that this is a program that Canadians have trusted and believed in for quite some time. It does take up, it is going to need a little bit of work to make sure that it meets the current living standards and costs of living that seniors now face. And I think we can do that by having a federal government that will take leadership and work with our provinces.
Thank you. Ryan.
Yes, so that was one of the campaign promises that we heard from the provincial Liberals that they've yet to follow through on. And as they continue stalling in the development of this plan, we see that the rules for eligibility continue to change. Regardless of that, it is the priority of the NDP to ensure that everyone who retires has a pension. And we recognize that provinces already have existing plans, and it is our goal to work with provinces. Tom Mulcair has a wonderful track record of doing that when he was a cabinet minister in Quebec, and that will continue under his leadership to ensure that we're expanding the CPP and we're working with provinces to ensure that pensions are there when people retire. Thank you.
Next question comes from Sandra, and that'll be first directed to Celina.
A strong, stable housing market is important for Canada's economy. In addition to the indexation of the Home Buyers Plan, how can the federal government continue to support Canadian home ownership, especially for first-time buyers, a significant percentage of whom borrow from their parents to buy a home?
So as I mentioned earlier, we need to modernize the Home Buyers Plan so that Canadians can finance the purchase of their first home. But again, this is a multi-pronged approach. Other parts of our plan help our students to get apprenticeships, to get co-ops, to get making investments in jobs so that they could realize the dream of paying down debt and starting a family and owning a home. When we're talking about the Home Buyers Program, we also need to consider the realities of the situation that we live in. People are often finding jobs that are further away from home, further away from where they live, and may have to relocate in order to own a home. And modernizing that Home Builders Plan to be flexible is something that we are considering.
Thank you. Ryan.
Yeah, everyone dreams of owning a house, and we want to help people realize that. It's prohibitive in the market right now. You're absolutely right. And with the trend over the past 10 years of creating jobs that are part-time, precarious, and low wage, people simply don't have the opportunity to save and to put away for a down payment. So what we intend to do is spark job growth and provide incentives to home builders to build affordable housing units, and to ensure that when they're built, that people will have the opportunity to buy them. And our infrastructure plan stands to create 31,000 jobs by the end of our first term, which will go a long way to developing.
Thank you. Craig.
I would point out that Canada of the OECD is the only country that doesn't actually have a national housing strategy. And again, at the risk of being somewhat repetitive, this requires some communication across the country, across jurisdictions, between municipalities, provinces, and territories, and the federal government. We can support initiatives like the indexing of the GST, new home rebate. We can take other measures, but I think drafting of a comprehensive plan of how we're going to, as a country, ensure that, yes, we're building more homes, that they're eco-friendly, and that we're transitioning our economy away from its reliance on carbon to fossil fuels towards the opportunities that I believe we're not taking advantage of here in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question comes from Victor, and it'll be first directed to Ryan.
The underground economy and construction costs the federal governments, i.e. taxpayers, incalculable amounts. If elected, what will your government do to target cash operators without creating more red tape for honest business people?
Thank you. Ryan.
It's a really good question, Victor. Well, we want to ensure that people are that are legitimate tradespeople that are working above the board have access to the employment. I think that right now the Ontario College of Trades provides an opportunity to ensure that the people that are doing work are legitimate and that there's a level of screening that takes place. Right now, because of the underground economy, you find that people are tied for cash, and what they do is they often go to the smallest bidder. And what they do is they have to end up replacing their roof 2 years down the road. So by supporting the College of Trades, we'll ensure that the work that's done is legitimate.
Thank you. Craig.
Yeah, that is a good question. The Green Party supports the Canadian Home Builders Association Get It in Writing campaign. That is critical. I think it is an educational thing. I'm going to say that there was on occasion where that has been a tempting thing as a homeowner who's got cash constraints and thinks that this is the better option. So this is about money, this is about accessibility, this is about the cost of things. So we've got to take measures to try to educate the public that they're not only putting themselves at risk by doing this, by having people do electrical work without it being in code, or to save a few dollars. We need an educational endeavor to try to correct that and fill the gap. The home renovation, reintroduction of the home renovation tax credit would be, again, a good measure. It has been useful because people need to provide receipts. They have to present that they've actually gone through and get tax credits for those. So we need to really reinvigorate that, and then, of course, keep a green edge to those endeavors.
Thank you. Celina.
This is a very good question, and while we could talk about the renovation tax credit, which I think has been helpful, one of the things that the Liberal Party would like to do is to have a more open and transparent Canada Revenue Agency that keeps people from avoiding paying their taxes. So when they're making underground payments or they're getting cash payments, that is recorded properly. But I think the most important thing to do to get this underground network dissolved is to promote the trades and make it more accessible for people to enter the trades by providing the funding, providing the leadership in promoting, having accessibility to learning those different trades and not having to get cash for it.
Thank you. The next question from the panel comes from Andrea, and it'll be first directed to Craig.
In an era of big data, technology, and innovation, along with digital infrastructure is a key factor for global companies when making investment decisions. Only 6% of Canadian firms are harnessing technologies to allow them to better monitor their production, and the next generation entrepreneur is directly aligned to innovation. Will your party commit to providing incentives to move ideas from mind to market, such as an innovation box regime in Canada that would see any sales revenues earned on a patent or new technology developed here in Canada taxed at a lower rate?
Craig.
That is a very good question. A complex question, I will say, to which the latter half I don't have specifics on, but I can say again that we would like to redirect some of the money that is being, we would say, misallocated. As was mentioned earlier, we are providing we were thinking that the tax breaks on corporations would create jobs, create research and development, and this just really hasn't transpired. So we need to redirect that money into these initiatives. And of course, our mechanism we would use would be the Canadian Sustainable Generations Fund, where we would have commercialization grants given to businesses to help them make these decisions and gather the research they need to make effective business decisions as they move forward.
Thank you. Celina.
I'm going to give you a quick and refreshing answer to this question. I don't know. I don't know. The Liberal Party right now, we are prioritizing some of the things that we need to do to get the Canadian economy going again. Affordable housing, ensuring that we have jobs for students, we have jobs in the trades, and we're investing in those jobs is our primary focus. And the reason why we have priorities is because we need to sort of have things that come up first and then things that come up secondary. I have a research background, a healthcare-based research background, so I love the fact that we're looking to data for innovation. However, I think that at this particular time, and it's not in our policy, but that's where we have room for discussion after you elect us on October 20th.
Thank you. Ryan.
Yes, an even shorter answer is yes. We will most certainly support this by maintaining and extending the accelerated capital cost allowance that will provide opportunities to businesses to invest in exactly that kind of infrastructure, the technological infrastructure that will help them succeed in a global economy. In addition to that, we're creating an innovation tax credit, which will once again go towards helping businesses invest in infrastructure that will allow for that paradigm shift, and also lowering the small business tax rate, of course, from 11 to 9% will benefit that as well. But with the last 10 seconds, since we're talking about big data, what we are not supporting is Bill C-51, which allows the government to access your big data.
Thank you. Next question comes from the audience, and we'll direct this first to Celina. It may be a bit of a provincial question, but it might have something to do with transfer payments as well. Drug costs are escalating to the point where many, especially seniors, can't afford important medication. What will your party do to address this issue?
So we understand, and I understand in particular, that 1 out of 10 Canadians cannot afford the price of their medication, and the fact that the coverage of medication varies from province to province. Under the Canada Health Act, we are supposed to be entitled to universal access to medications and healthcare without worrying about that. So short of saying a national pharmacare strategy, we will be talking to the provinces about reducing the cost of drugs. But we also have to be mindful of what's happening externally, especially with some of our trade agreements that will make it increasingly more prohibitive to enact a national pharmacare strategy in Canada. So while we're working internally, we have to look at our trade agreements as well.
Thank you. Ryan.
The NDP has a plan to introduce a national pharmacare program. Recently, the University of British Columbia brought out a study that demonstrated that we have a plan, we can introduce it, it will save the government and industry up to $8 billion a year. All that remains is the political will to do so. The NDP, in our fully costed plan, has set aside $2.6 billion to initiate a national pharmacare program. This will ensure that everyone who needs medication will have access to it at a lesser cost, so people will no longer be faced with the terrible decision between whether they're going to buy their important medication or the other basic necessities of life. Thank you.
Craig.
Yes, the Green Party too also supports a national pharmacare program that we believe is long overdue. We also need to change the way in which we think about the Canada Health Act. It has become unfortunately, due to our federal government's rhetoric, a provincial problem. This is a national healthcare program that needs to be supported and negotiated accordingly with provinces, and not it's your problem, no, it's your problem type thing. We would put one point in the GST to start getting the funding for the pharmacare program up and running. What I'd like to just add to the conversation is the idea that it also ensures drug safety. So we have, I know seniors in my family who are taking a multitude of medications, and it allows us to have a better coordination of how these medications are being dispensed and used. Some seniors have expressed some concern about being told what medications they need to take, but again, with appropriate regulation, I think that this is a doable proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a few minutes left to get you out of here by 9 as promised, so we will take one last audience question. This question comes from someone who is obviously a golfer. Sporting events such as Blue Jays are eligible to be expensed by corporations. Do you support doing this to golf as an expense item? Do you support allowing business to expense golf? We will start with Ryan on that.
Must be the gentleman in the back wearing the golf shirt. No. Right now, there are tax breaks for corporations that buy box seats, and when you look at the inequality and growing inequality in our society, it just doesn't make sense to take leisure activities and provide tax relief for that when we have people that are already overtaxed and having a very difficult time making ends meet. I would expect after our first mandate to be in a position where the NDP as government has improved the quality of life in Canada to the point where we could legitimately revisit that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
The Green Party definitely supports preventative health measures, so getting involved with all sorts of different activities and promoting that with our children. Would in the case of measures of inequality within Canada, and what we would do to sort of increase the corporate tax rate. Wouldn't say that we're in favor of that, although I haven't specifically read a policy on it, but we are in favor of positive health measures and people getting active in their community. Thank you.
And Celina.
Again, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We'll leave this decision to the experts who know taxes, and I honestly can't say whether or not it is prudent to do so. If it is a preventative measure that you're enacting through your company to have people more active and viable, I would be sure that there would be some kind of tax way that you can have that reduced. But to be quite honest with you, I have to say that I'm not sure the answer to that question.
Thank you. This will conclude our election forum for the Whitby riding. I want to say thank you to those in attendance. Thank you again to the Durham Region Home Builders Association, the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, and the Durham Region Association of Realtors for hosting this event. Especially thank you to Craig Cameron of the Green Party, Celina Caesar-Chavannes of the Liberal Party, and Ryan Kelly of the New Democratic Party for attending this morning, for answering our questions, and we wish you well on the campaign trail. Thank you, folks. Have a great morning.